Hello, everybody. I am Margarita Gomez, the Executive Director of the People in Government Lab. Thank you very much for joining us once again in the PeopleGov Speaker Series. This is a space that we have created to exchange ideas, to share actionable knowledge, to improve motivation, effectiveness, and performance of people working in government. In the last 6 months, we have had a great journey together, and we have discussed different topics from remote work in government and use of data to make better decisions. And we have also discussed how can we apply behavioral science to improve people management and the role of the public service in the recovery of COVID-19. Along this journey, we have created a great community of scholars, practitioners, and students across different countries around the world that are motivated and committed to improve government across the world. Today, we are closing the second season of the PeopleGov Speaker Series with a very special edition. We are hosting today a conversation between Beto Sicupira, founder of Brava Foundation and partner of 3G Capital, and our dear Dean of the Blavatnik School of Government, Ngaire Woods, who is going to be guiding the conversation. Thank you so much to both for joining the conversation today, for sharing your thoughts about why people management matters, about how the public sector can learn from the private sector and vice versa. And one question that the community has also raised, that is why to put people and the human factor in the center of the government transformation. Thank you very much to both of you, and Ngaire, the floor is yours.
Well, good afternoon and welcome everybody, but a very particular welcome to our guest today, Carlos Alberto Sicupira, born in Brazil. He did his degree at the Federal University of Rio, and he has subsequently built an extraordinary global business empire. Buying businesses, merging them, creating a culture, and creating an extraordinary cadre of people who he has come to trust and who have managed to navigate a world of global business in an extraordinary way. Now, alongside all of that, Beto Sicupira has built the Brava Foundation. He's co-founded Estudar Brazil and other not-for-profit organizations with a passion to improve education and public management and entrepreneurship in Brazil. So this is a very rare combination in one human being. This extraordinary energy and zeal to build a global business empire, and at the same time to focus, to think about, to work practically and support improvements in public management at both state and local level in Brazil. So Beto, let me just begin by saying it is really an honor to have a conversation with you here today. And I know that everybody is really looking forward to hearing your thoughts on this. And I would like to start by taking you back to the very first conversation I ever had with you, where you surprised me because you were the first business leader that I had spoken to that said to me, people are right at the center of what I've done in building my global business. I think, and I might be misremembering, you can correct me, you said that when you have taken over a company, you look for the person who is most seen to be the next CEO, and you put them in charge of people. And for me, that was fascinating. So can we start there? Why, what have you learned that has led you to believe that the people function is right at the heart of building both good business and good government?
First of all, I am the honored one to be interviewed by you and the audience for some matter that is too close to our heart. Then I'm the honored one. In answering you about this people function, people function at the end is the center of anything. Because from there, we're going to start all the initiatives in the company by positioning people, the right people in the right position. And normally, managers do that. But managers do that most of the time without the complete knowledge about the people base that he has, the capabilities that he has in-house, and the deficit that he needs to work with. Then for me, that's first thing, who is going to run people? Mm-hmm. And then we have many cases of people that, as you said, that run people that become CEO or become more than CEO, because, and we associate with people the area of managing methods with in the same area as people. Then we call that management technology plus people, because management is a complete dominate science. Mm-hmm. And then this function is the repository of the knowledge that the company apply in all the methodologies that they work. And even there is from there that they start all the target setting in the company and the target cascading in the company. Then it's not HR function, like most of the people view that, like, no, people area will take care of the back office, you'll take care of the payroll. Look, payroll for us is in the accounting, because payroll is a system. It's not a question of in the people area, because payroll is just something mechanic. The basis that you build the payroll and the base that you build compensation is always proposed by this area. At the end, I think this is what we view as the center of everything.
So you distinguish between the kind of selection of leaders and promotion of leaders from the kind of functions of payroll and accountancy. And what do you look for in your best people managers? Like what would you say are the attributes of a really great people leader manager?
First, he should not be an HR guy. Because HR as a function is about mechanics. Then should be one guy that understand about operation, understand deeply about how the company operate, understand about the methodology, understand about the culture, and is someone that has the innate capability of dealing with people. Because you can have all that and not be that able in terms of dealing with people. Then at the end, we look for some guy that could do anything in the company. And on top of that, is very able in dealing with people and understanding the needs and leading a team, because you need a team to do that. Today, a lot of dysfunction could be done, helped by digitalization. That helps you a lot on that, because we're not talking about dysfunction. We're not talking about just the executive, but we're talking about everybody in the company. And when you start to deal with a much bigger base, you'll be much more efficient if you have all this data in one place and be able to mine that data and take the profit out of that.
And for a lot of public sectors, that's very attractive. They're already being sold, you know, algorithms for doing their hiring, for example, as well as for doing their promotions. You've just highlighted that one of the benefits of that is you can do it in a much more data-rich way. You can do it at far less cost. But do you think there are pitfalls with it? Are there problems with it?
Are
there problems with using digital means of using basically computers to make your promotion decisions rather than using people?
No, the computer gives you the information that you need to do the right promotion, because the computer is going to track what the guy do. Will track, you have in one place all his appraisal, all his reviews, all his stock. Then his boss is going to recommend his promotion or going to promote him within his organization based in much more data. And also the boss of the boss and the people area could know about the consistency of all these moves if they are respecting the data. Because most of the time you had wrong decisions with people, not just about the hiring, about promoting, about fulfilling their non-existent capabilities and firing. But if you have hard data to decide that, become much better decision than just, I think that this guy is okay. For that also, make the entity, this entity could be a corporation, could be a public corporation, could be a public department, make the possibility of you utilize your people in the best position that suit what they have. Then doesn't mean that you are restricted to the movements within one area. As you can see everybody and say, look, this guy here in this department, he could do much better if go to this vacancy here, because he's suited to this there. And this, his boss is not seeing that. And this is pretty much, this is nothing new. That's what the military does. The military at the end, they have the best people machine because they have very few external interference in there. They always work with a very good database and they form all their people. Then we're not inventing nothing. This is that, and I think that today the military is very much in computers also because they treat with big mass of data.
Some of what you said reminded me of a project that you did working with the government of Rio, where you could see that the government was spending a lot of money on consultants, but they had quite a lot of expertise. Can you just tell us a little bit about that project and what you learned from it?
There were one project more that has to do about people in the government was done in the Rio municipality government, where happens that this town of Rio has a very good and well-structured municipality town hall, and very good people, and pay reasonably well. But as every mayor come in, there are no data and who was good within that for which position. And what the mayor and his team did, we just give the idea and suggest some people to run. What they did was first know their top people. At the end, we focus on the 100 top people in the municipality. The program was named Carioca Leaders Program. And from there, the mayor started to have a list of 100 people that he could promote and use anything he want, and discover that there are so many capabilities within the municipality that people have no idea, because people tend to arrive and hire a consultant.
Mhm.
And when you have an holistic view of your people, you could know that you have the capability internally that's much better than hire a consultant.
Mhm.
You hire a consultant, in our view, we hire a consultant to do something that you don't know how to do.
Mhm.
And then we try to hire the consultant to learn that.
Mhm.
But when you don't know what you know, then it's very difficult. You say, look, I don't have this capability, but how come you don't have that? Because in most of the government in Brazil, they don't have the data about the capabilities of their people. Some of them, they form good people, but they are scattered around 100,000 employees in doing different jobs. And then we found out that we had 40% of these 100 guys were people with doctorate, and very well formed, very well educated, and was ready to do any position in the company. And even the finance director, the secretary of finance, the treasury of the mayor come from this program. Because otherwise you say, no, I'm going to find someone elsewhere, I'm going to, or look someone in the market, or I'm going to look for a consultant to help me. But first you need to know if you have that in-house.
Mhm.
Then that's the objective, because
Mhm.
you save a lot of time,
Mhm.
money, and most important of everything, you give them opportunity. Because people are motivated by very different things, but always need to have a motivation. You can motivate people with a dream, you can motivate them with ownership, you can motivate them with pecunious bonus, you can motivate them with challenge also. And how we are going to motivate them with challenge if you don't know their capabilities? Then it's
Mhm.
very simple. That's what a people area does in a company, is exactly this type of thing. In many public institutions, we have that. But most of the municipalities and state in Brazil don't have that.
Mhm. So you've got talent that you just don't know you've got. You've got
Yeah.
underutilized people. Does that happen in the private?
It's even worse, because most of the time you pay the education for these guys.
Right, right. And then you're not using.
Because from time to time, someone that was managing an area heard about a course that you had at Blavatnik and said, look, I'm going to send this guy that is very good. But this was very isolated initiatives. It's not, you don't have a holistic view of that. And even you don't, but don't knowing what you need, sometimes you send them for doing some courses or some education that they don't need, or even the municipality doesn't need.
And have you, when you've taken over companies, have you seen that same problem in the private sector? When you take over a large company, SAB Miller or Heinz or something, do you find that they also suffer from that problem, that they have talent that they do not know they've got?
In different degrees.
Right.
You have companies that you have nothing, and you have companies that you have a lot of good people. You have companies that you have a good leadership, companies that you need to change the leadership. But if you don't have that function, you're not going to know that, and then you need to establish that function. And it will take time to you to have all the data on that, and sometimes you cannot wait for all the data, and you need to do changes, because if you don't have the data there you start to have that probably will take at least 6 months, a year. And there are changes that need to be done before that. But there are companies very well established on that, that they know what people they have. Then you can work in a different way. But there are anything. There are companies that are worse than government, and there are companies that are better than other companies. Government in some of Brazilian states. I'm not comparing with countries that I don't know.
Right, right. And when you began to engage with government, what were the other things that struck you about people management in government that you think, you know, you have a vision of government which is more responsive, which is more efficient, more effective, and many parts of Brazil need that. What are the other things that what are the other things you think need to change in people management in government?
I think the first thing is, what is the purpose of the government? Because around the purpose that you are going to build your strategy and you're going to build your people. And I haven't seen many governments with very clear purpose. If you ask them what's the purpose, they say, my purpose is to govern. I haven't seen too many citizens-centered purpose, and based on that, you are going to prepare your people to feel this mission, that is make life easier for your citizens, and understand more about that. Because you need to have a very big connection of the people with the purpose. And at some point, you need to put the culture in between, and the culture will be different in different areas, but the values should be the same. When you have some public institutions that have that, they work much better. Then you have some public institutions in Brazil that are excellent because they form their own people, they track their own people, and their people is linked to their purpose. Then you have fantastic institutions here that have that. But when you have, when your institution is dedicating a lot of effort for the people formation, for the people education, this means that you have a plan for them also. Again, it's like a military academy. It's like any institution that hire, train from the lower rank. And then with that, you are able to put the same values, and these values is linked with the purpose of the corporation.
You've talked a number of times about how you form people. What to you is the most important part of the way an organization forms its people? You've told us that you need to know who your people are and you need to understand what motivates them. But then as an organization, what is it that you can do to form them?
First is give them the possibility of growth. Then you need to be able to offer them opportunities. I think this is the number one thing, because people just want to work in places where, because there are people that have the luxury of choose where they're going to work, and the people that are going to work where they have a job. That we need to differentiate that. The people that have the ability to choose where they're going to work, I think probably the most important factor is how much opportunity they will have. Normally, in general, I talk about people coming into the lower ranks and growing up in the organization. Lately, with so many changes in technology, you need to review that because you are going to need specialists along the way that's not going to fit exactly this model. Mm-hmm. But again, you need to think to attract these guys. You need to find out if you have the right opportunities for them to grow. Because the good guy is not coming for the job. He's coming what he's going to do in the future and what this future is going to mean for him and what is the role that he is going to have in the organization. Look, why the military able to recruit very good people? Because they offer them opportunities to grow and offer them a very clear career to grow. Mm-hmm. And same thing with public institution with a very well-established career, like diplomatic service, this type of thing. It's easy to recruit people because of that. And I think in companies, in government, should be the same thing. Because when the government has that, then in spite of the change in the leadership, you have continuity. And what government needs is continuity, because you cannot build nothing in 2 years or 4 years. Then you need to have some leader that will guide and do the changes needed to the future, but you need to have a corp of people that's going to implement that and also be part of understanding what they are going to do and be able to lead with these elected leaders to go in the direction that the leader wants.
Beto, there's lots of questions flooding in, and Eloy Oliveira, well known to you, says, I want to know what you've learned you should not do while managing effective teams. What did not work out for you? Are there any lessons that spring to mind? Are there any things you've changed your view about?
I've been changing all the time. Mm-hmm. Because you cannot be a one-trick pony all your life, because that trick starts to be known, or that trick could have no more audience, and then you need to be changing and adapting to the new circumstance. Let's say with all this digital revolution that we are passing through, that will be probably is the most deep revolution in human history, because it's too much concentrated in very short term. This required a lot of change in how you view that, because you are going to work with not a different kind of people, but a people completely different from the people that are used to deal with. Then you need to adapt and change all the time. You need to be very open to everything. But about what not to do, first, I like more than decide what I'm not going to do, than decide what I'm going to do. Because when I have a list of things that I'm not going to do anymore, this open space in my agenda, my time, in my mind, to look at the things that I'm going to do. Then I prefer to start what I'm not going to do. And you find out that you are doing some stupid things most of the time. And you need to get rid of that and concentrate where you're going really to create value. But I think the first thing that not to do in a people organization is have political interference. That's the first thing. Need to be based exclusively on merit. And the human being is very guided to interfere in process. And then you need to have a very strong process proof of interference. Because when you have political interference in a people process, you are favoring someone, but everybody is seeing that this is happening, and you are taking opportunities out of the guys that are there for the opportunity, and you are showing a wrong way of do things. Then I think you need to avoid the political interference that is about, I prefer this guy. Why you prefer him? Then you need to have hard data to do that. Then I think this is the first thing. I think the second thing is you don't let people, let's say, a boss going to promote someone. You ask for, look, who is your successor? That's a question that everybody does. Then the guy says, oh, no, my successor is Mr. X. Okay, but why is your successor? Because of this, this, and that. But this is not enough, because you may have a lot of people with the same qualities of that Mr. X. Then when you expose any succession to the whole organization, you have a much better process. Let's say, who is your successor? Then every guy you're going to tell who is the successor. Then you create a successor pool. And then you are going to let the guys to be succeeded, or the bosses, or the leaders, choose from that pool of successors who they want. Because beside all the information that the company have, and all the managers have this information, you have some feeling that come on top of the information about the experience that you had, about the information that you have. And then this leaders that's going to choose this success off of this pool, they will certify that that guy is good. Then when you have a pool of successors and no one choose Mr. X, then he cannot be a successor. That means that just one guy like him. Then I think that this is a way to avoid the preference. The preference also is about the comfort. Because look, I put a guy here in my place, and he is not going to turn things around. Then I will preserve my legacy. And it's not this what you want. You want to improve all the time. You are in search of excellence all the time. Then you need to look for the best guy. And the best guy is not you going to choose, but almost an election. Then this is another thing to do. Another thing to do, to don't do, is when you think that all the good guys that you have, you know, all the good guys that you have are the better of anything. Then you need to be open for things from the outside also. Not outside of the department, but outside of the companies also. Then for that, we in companies have different programs. We have internship, then we have trainees, and then we have what you call high potential. High potential is a guy like our trainee with 5 years experience somewhere. And you need to be aware of that should be guys better than your guys. And then don't keep your mind closed about what you normally look at there. Because in my view, the most limiting sense in the human being is the vision. Because you believe in what you see. But as you are looking that way, you're not seeing a lot of things. When you look 360, you're going to see much more things. Then is don't have your mind closed just to what you know. Be open and be alert to opportunities of good people. The other thing is you don't do, normally people wait to someone have the experience to be promoted. That's normal way of life. I'm going to promote this guy that have experience. I think this is okay. But if you restrict your vision to that, you're going to miss great opportunity in life. In my view, in my experience, where I dealt with thousands of people, I tell you that the best case that I always had in all my life was with people that are not prepared, but have the will and the ambition of creating something much bigger that he was able to create. Then if you stick to experience, you're not going to do, you're going to not leapfrog nothing. You are going little by little. And to leapfrog and to change, sometimes you need someone with much smaller experience, but a much bigger will. And in my view, the will come ahead of the skill. And if the guy has a huge will, he's going to find the skill, or he's going to surround himself with the skills that don't have. Then don't promote exclusively by the experience. Promoted by experience, you run very little risk, but you don't attain something bigger. What I can remind is this four stuff that's not written in any book, but that's in my mind. That's promoting some guy with no experience. Yeah, I love to do that.
It's really powerful lessons about what you know and what you don't know when you're the person making people decisions. How we go with our bias. And I know in the other speakers in this series that Margarita's been hosting, people have talked about the biases that lead people to a point, you know, the same person as in their golf club or their tennis club, the person that looks like them, that went to the same school as them, that they think they can trust, that they think will be a safe pair of hands. And you're giving us a guide about how not to do that with using information, using data, using a really good management system. Does it result in more diversity in your leadership teams?
Look, then in doing that, in hiring people out of your group, you are open to diversity. Because when you hire your schoolmates, your sports mates, your neighborhood guy, this is the most anti-diversity that you could have. And diversity is very important to understand, because you need to have a diversity there that represents the people that you will work for. Because just them will be able to know the real needs for different segments of the society. And then when you look just for one thing, you don't have any kind of diversity there. Then I think diversity is very important in everything that you do. And who doesn't have the diversity missing a lot of opportunities of serve better his purpose, because the purpose always is for some end user. And you don't know that end user by heart, it will be much more difficult, and your product will be of a smaller quality.
Karthik Ramana, who's a professor in the Blavatnik School and directs the MPP, asks, what's the most unpopular decision you've made, and what did you learn from it?
Look, I don't care about the popularity of my decisions. I care of doing the right thing and sleeping well after the decision. If it's popular or not popular, it's not my problem, because I'm not here for vote. I'm here to do the right thing. I'm in search of excellence. Then sometimes you need to take very unpopular. All my life, I did very unpopular decisions, but at the end was very popular with the right people. With the people that was affected by that decision, in case of firing or changing management, this type of thing, for sure is unpopular. They're not going to applaud someone that take out their opportunity, but you need to be fair. Your decision needs to be done on data, and you need to implement that in a fair way also. Even if you're not going to promote someone, you're going to explain to him why it's not going to be promoted, or if you fire someone, you need to explain why you guys fired. And I think always about if it's right and fair. With that, you can sleep well. But be unpopular. If you're going to lead something, you think that you're going to be popular 100% of the time, you're going to go nowhere. At the end, you cannot dance by the poles. Like say, look, a soap opera. A soap opera, the guy writes something there, and he writes the whole history of the soap opera, and it will be 100 chapters. And along the way, he's going to move the history to satisfy the viewers. They are doing poll all the time. And at the end, who is going to write that history is the viewer. You cannot manage an organization by the viewers letting do that, because just to be popular and have a high audience. Sometimes you're going to have a very bad audience. People is going to hate you. But if you are going to do the right and fair thing for the long term, you should do that.
There's this constant message that comes through in what you say, which is that you have to have a method, you have to have evidence and data. And it might seem obvious to people listening, but what is so powerful in what you're saying is what it tells us about all the ways that humans don't do these things, and how humans keep repeatedly not doing these things. They ignore the data, they ignore the evidence, they appoint the people they like. They think they're offering a challenge to people without understanding their capabilities. It's just a powerful, it powerfully sums up some of what other speakers have said during this series in a very positive, proactive way. I'm very grateful. Now, Luis Guilherme Preti, who's an MPP student in the school at the moment, asks about public-private partnerships, which a number of people have asked, Davi, Aisha, etc. But Luis asks, what part does corruption play in the public-private partnership? Does it prevent good partnerships from happening? And in your view, can Brazil fight corruption in the public sector by investing more in people management?
Look, you don't see a corruption problem in the organizations that I mentioned, where they hire, train, create, and make a career for their people. I can't remember any big case of corruption in institutions like that, because they have values. They have values, and even if you have a rotten apple inside, the system will throw that guy out. The guy was not going to have the opportunity to do that. Wrongdoing you have everywhere. But in everywhere that you have a strong value, a strong culture, and you care about your people, and you have a purpose in Brazil, but you have Corruption Act everywhere. You don't have Corruption Act in some organization like the Federal Police, the Central Bank, the National Development Bank, and the Internal Revenue Service. But there are wrongdoing. There are wrongdoing everywhere. There are wrongdoing in my company. There are wrongdoing in your school. They have someone that you need to address that. But we didn't have massive problems in institutions that have these things that I mentioned. Then I think the first thing is you have the state with all the organization covering the state with this value, then it will be much more difficult to do that, because most of the time the corruption is done in places that there are no structure at all. Let's say the state of Rio was probably one of the examples of most corruption everywhere. There were 2 places, but there was no case of corruption. Was in security and education. There's not a single case of corruption there, because the leaders and the methodology used there prevent and incentivize people to do the right thing. And even because of the purpose, the organization work with expelling this type of people there, and also because police and education are career-based organization, because professor, when you have 100,000 professors or 100,000 of policemen, you need to have a career there. Then you can have corruption at the end of the agent could do a corruption there, but you don't have corruption within the organization. Is it very different? Someone do a corruption on their own, then different you have a corruption in the whole organization. Then so I think it's very much about values.
So again, there's a strong message around purpose, values, clarity about the objective, clarity about the system. So you positively need all of those things to avoid corruption. You can't just avoid corruption. You need these positive elements in place. Can I turn in these last few moments to COVID? Brazil is having a terrible time with the pandemic, as most countries are. Could you talk about what your company has been doing to help in the management of COVID and equipment in Brazil?
Okay. First of all, how we face COVID. There was a crisis coming. We didn't know how deep the crisis would be. The first thing was finance. We need to have the proper finance to survive a very deep problem. That's the first thing. And I'm going to take care of my people. I'm going to take care of the people, but I don't have the money. I'm not going to take care of my people. The first thing is to assess what's the financial condition and do everything that you need to survive the storm. The second thing was protect your people and protect your customer. Because without your people, you're not going nowhere. Without your customer, you won't go nowhere. Then what we did was massive testing internally. What we did was tracking for any cases, and every people that had contact with they should report. And then we are going to track to whom he had contact, and are going to isolate them. Because some of our companies, you cannot work remote. Look, how are we going to remote in factories that are producing things that the population need? How are we going to work remote in stores? You're not going to be able to work. The store needs to be open because people need to buy a lot of things that the store has. then these people are very much exposed. And then we need to give them the highest level of assurance that if they have a problem, they will be taken care of. And then, and beside that, we set up protocols, very restrict protocols, and make sure that people are observing that protocols to diminish the risk of being contaminated. Mm-hmm. And if someone have been contaminated, we have assigned a doctor to follow the guy in a daily basis for everyone. And this worked pretty well in the beginning. And then we have, compared to the numbers of the country or the municipalities that we work, we have very good numbers, very, very good numbers that. Related to the second wave, where people relaxed, then was different. We performed worst. But we perform worst because people get used to that, and I think the same thing that happened in society. And then now people are dying less from that. But anyway, even that we have more than the first wave, we have much less than the general public in the municipalities that we work. And beside that, the companies and ourselves was very much involved in helping the government, because sometimes you can act much faster than the government. Let's say in Brazil, I don't know exactly, I know what we set up as guideline, but I don't know the cases that happen everywhere. But I tell you, in Brazil, we were able to find out a way to bring in 72 hours equipment from China. And we did that for the government and put that way working, and the government followed one of that. And we did the first two flights, two 777 planes that were used exactly for that. And within leaving Brazil, in 4 days later, they were in Brazil with all the goods that we need. And we help with our supply chain also, because we buy things everywhere. We start to, instead of bottling beer, start to bottling alcohol gel, as an example. And beside that, we help the government with logistics, because some of our companies have a very good logistics system, like the example of the planes that I mentioned. But there were one state in Brazil, the biggest state in Brazil, that one of our companies take care of all the government logistics, putting our systems in their warehouse and sending our people to help them to manage that, because the government had that, but the government is not used to deliver in 24 hours. And we deliver every day from 500,000 to 1 million acquisition. We deliver in 24 hours. Then we are much more able to do that than the government. Where in the government they deliver in same day, they don't need to do that. Beside that, we help with these campaign hospitals, where we built a campaign hospital. We built one campaign hospital in São Paulo and another in Rio. We built the hospital in São Paulo in 22 days. In Rio, we built the hospital in 30 days, and it was operating in 40 days. And at the same time, the state government decided to build 4 campaign hospitals, and 3 of them by the end of the pandemic was not done yet. Then what we did is our ability to build things fast, because In the private sector, if you don't build something fast, you're going to die because someone is going to build faster than that. Beside that, we personally brought one vaccine that was in testing to be tested in Brazil. And on top of that, we helped the construction of one vaccine plant in Rio and another vaccine plant in São Paulo. One of them, we were running the construction, the water was just helping. Then, and reason, the government has money to do that, but we couldn't do faster because, you know, the management in government, the difference of government management and private management is in government, they need to check what they cannot do because there are a lot of constraints in what they do. In the private sector, you don't need to care what you should not do. You just care about the law. And the government on top of the law, there are a lot of things that they can't do, or they will take a long time to do that because they will need to check that with very different areas and compliance in different bases. Then we try to help where we could do faster.
I know we're out of time, but I do want to ask just one last very short question, which is what makes it possible to help government like that? In the United Kingdom, there's lots of companies that say, we tried to help government, but they never responded to us. They didn't take our phone calls. They didn't get organized. And I'm sure there were
same thing.
So what made it possible?
To help companies or help a government.
Yeah, what made it possible to help them?
You need to have a leader that's open to be helping. And the way to do that is, look, because what you want to do, you want to help or you want to appear that you are helping. If you want to appear that you are helping, no government will accept that. And even very few companies will accept that if you take the credit for your help. All the credit need to go to the leader that is leading there. For the government team or the company team, they need to have all the credit. You could help in the background. You could not help as the front, because otherwise that's human nature. Need people who are there, they are going to fulfill their mission. Then appears someone that's going to help them and say, look, I did that, not him. Then I think you need to be open and you need to be sure that you don't intend to show off about helping someone. They let the credit for the leaders, because what you want is to have something accomplished. It's not take the credits. In companies, it's exactly the same thing.
That is a wonderful concluding comment, because of all the business leaders in the world, I think you get first prize for not showing off. You have your quiet style, which is based on evidence, which looks at the purpose of what you're trying to achieve. You've just shown us today in this masterclass, if you apply that to government, you can really do great things. And what is so interesting is you're not saying to us, just apply business rules to government. You're saying, no, look at the things that government should do well: purpose, vision, values, process, and get those things right. So I would like, on behalf of everybody here, to say a huge thank you to you. This has been so clear and inspiring, and a beautiful end to an extraordinary speaker series that Margarita has hosted. And so I would like personally to say thank you, and thank you for the support and inspiration you're giving us as we pick up and research these elements. It's making a huge difference. And let me now pass back to Margarita to formally close.
Thank you, Ngaire. Thank you, Beto Sicupira. It was a real honor to have you here. And thank you to all the participants that were sharing their questions and also their thoughts. It was a real pleasure. And we are so looking forward to the next year that we are gonna launch the third season of the PeopleGov Speaker Series. And see you next year. Have a great break and a good rest, everybody. Thank you.
And
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
no, thank you so much.
I'm very proud of doing this with you guys.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.